Hello, all you scaredy cats and kittens, and welcome to the Two Scaredy Cats podcast, where we talk about all things strange, unusual, and paranormal. We're your hostess with the mostest. I'm Stacy.
No, I'm Kara.
So, Kara, what has been going on these past couple weeks? Have you seen Wicked yet?
Yeah, I did go see Wicked.
Did you? We finally went and saw it on Sunday. It was real. Oh my God, it was amazing. I loved it.
It was really good.
It was very good. If you have not seen that yet, I highly recommend you go see that. It's very good. We just want to welcome everybody who's here to listen to us today. Today we're doing our Christmas episode that we do every year at the end of the season. And I guess we'll let Kara start us off today. So, Kara, what have you got today for us?
Well, we're going to be talking about Yule, which was what inspired our current day, like, Christmas traditions. Or, like, at least, like, enough. Or, like, parts of the aspects, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So Yule is typically celebrated, it's like a celebration during winter of the sun returning. It normally takes place around the solstice, basically like the longest
the
night.
Winter solstice.
Yes, yeah. Yes. So it takes place during the longest night. There's a lot of like traditions surrounding it. Some of the more interesting traditions would be the wild hunt. Have you heard of the wild hunt before?
I've heard of it, but not in great detail. So what is the wild hunt again?
It's like basically this ghostly procession of normally, at least most of the depictions of Odin on horseback with leading a bunch of like an army of like the undead basically.
Oh, that's scary,
like on
okay.
And they're normally on horseback, but they're like ghost horses. And they're always like on the hunt, you know.
Yeah.
For the evil.
Huh.
But there's a lot of sightings of this kind of phenomenon that would happen around Yule season.
Really? Huh.
And it's not always Odin. A lot of different, like, it wasn't just... Some cultures would, like, use different gods or whatever. Based on, like, the specific area. Because, like, a lot of separate areas would have very similar stories of this like ghostly procession, and they all, which is kind of interesting that like separate religions or whatever, or like areas would have like the similar traditions. And there's
that's weird.
Did you ever watch the Witcher series?
The Witcher, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, one of the games is actually called Witcher 3: The Wild Hunt, and it's actually about that like concept.
Okay. Huh.
Animal sacrifices are also like kind of a tradition at this time. A lot of the times they would do it because if you think about it, it's one less mouth to feed, and then you also get food in celebration because they would have a lot of feasts at this time. They like a lot of like you couldn't really go outside. So it seemed that, at least in the winter kind of spectrum, a lot of gatherings and whatnot. Have you heard of the Yule goat?
Yes, I did actually hear about this. It's from Finland, isn't it? Or like Sweden, one of those countries, correct?
Yeah. But it's still like in that kind of Yule tradition. But it's like this little goat that they make out of straw, which is kind of interesting. And they'll hang it on... as decoration pieces.
But did you hear like there's like?
But there was like but I believe that's like the symbol of the story that you're talking about, like the Yule goat.
Yeah. Because they would like erect a giant one in the middle of town, and they would have like this huge deal where they would half the town would hunt for the goat, if that makes sense, and then they had to protect the goat, and then the other half of the town would try and set it on fire.
Oh.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. It reminded me kind of like of the the Wicker Man kind of a little bit, right? Was that kind of what
I mean, isn't that also like a Wicker Man?
Yes,
was
yeah.
Like a Wiccan thing?
Yeah, the Wiccan thing, yeah. A lot of that stuff is pagan, or
yeah.
has Wiccan undertones or whatever.
Well, I mean, Yule is a pagan
Yeah, a holiday. Yeah.
holiday.
Mm-hmm.
So, but Christians took it over and did their own little silly.
Oh yeah, did their own.
The Yule log is another thing that they
Mm-hmm.
do, a little tradition where you burn on the brightest night or the longest night of the year.
Yep.
To symbolize the sun coming back. And I saw one that, like, I guess it depends on the tradition, but like that's like the general tradition. One of the ones was like you broke up the log into 12 pieces and you would burn like each piece each night.
Oh, for the 12 nights
Yes.
of Christmas, or the 12 days ago. Okay, that's cool. Huh,
So it really depends. I'm like like there's just like the general concept, but then they kind of differ depending on like location.
Now, do you remember in Sabrina the Teenage, or not? Yeah, was it Sabrina? Yeah, Sabrina. Do you remember they did like a Christmas episode of that, and the story behind that was they had the Yule log, remember, but they had to keep it lit the whole night to keep away.
Yeah, you can't. Yeah, you have to. That is also part of the tradition. You keep it lit the whole night, and you like sleep, or you can't go to sleep until the morning and the day comes.
Right, yeah, because it's like for the longest day of the year.
Yeah,
I
forgot that was the because I want to kind of do that. I want to have a little wood burning on the
doesn't that sound neat?
Solstice. Kind of sounds nice. Yeah, I was actually kind of like, oh, I can look in these traditions and see if there's any I can do. And then another thing that we kind of got, or like I thought was interesting, were the evergreens. Bringing in evergreens, like that's where we get like the Christmas tree tradition.
Yeah.
And then like mistletoe and holly. It's like you bring these things inside because that they're, alive still.
Yeah, that's true.
And then I actually found a Yule cryptid. You might have heard of this one. I thought we've talked about
a Yule cryptid, really?
Yes,
who is
the Yule cat.
Yes, we talked about that.
I thought we talked about it once.
Yeah, if it wasn't last year, it might have been the year before. The Yule cat is awesome. I'm not gonna lie, I really.
So I thought we'd talk about the Yule cat again because I thought it was kind of interesting, or like just briefly remind us about it. But it was basically an Icelandic Christmas folklore. It said it would lurk in the mountain, this like countryside during the Christmas season, and eat people who did not receive new clothes before Christmas Eve. Speculating that I kind of was like, oh, I wonder if they did that because it was incentive for the farmers to work hard so that they would be gifted clothes and not be prey to the Yule cat. Like, you know how like sometimes folklore is there to like help with social conditions, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you don't go in the woods at night because there's scary things, but they don't tell you what the scary things are, but it's because they don't want you to go get killed in the woods.
Exactly. Basically, it's to help protect you, but they use folklore as a way to scare you to death, so you don't want to do it, yeah.
Yeah, and sometimes they do it to, like, control you. Like, they would probably use this to keep the farmers working.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So, and then I also want to talk about, because something I thought about was there was like a Christmas carol that I was thinking about, or not, a Christmas song where there'll be like, from the most wonderful time of the year, it says there'll be scary ghost stories and tales of the glories of Christmases long, long ago. I feel like we don't really tell as many ghost stories around Christmas as much. I feel like it's centered more around like Santa and all that, at least nowadays. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true. Ours is more fun and, frosty and all that. Well, that was a different time, too. That's probably why there was a lot more dark stories.
I read that it originated, or at least 19th century, ghost stories were very popular around the 19th century. But it didn't translate when we came over to America, because they didn't like that. They didn't want to be consciousness of stuff. Except I feel like A Christmas Carol is pretty popular over here, which that would be a Christmas ghost story.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's about, actually, I was just reading something about that, about how when Charles Dickens wrote that, he was basically mad about the way the manufacturing facilities and plants that were, and they were hiring children to do all that. He was mad that, like, Ebenezer Scrooge was basically him. Ebenezer Scrooge was supposed to represent all those companies and stuff, if that makes sense, like during that time. Remember, like when they were, for example, here in Cincinnati, we had all the pork people that worked in the pork factories, and a lot of them were kids, and they were like walking in like acid and stuff, and they would, yeah, I mean, stuff like that. And that he wrote
Oh,
that
wow.
because he was tired of how all these major corporations were making, all this money, and these kids were like dirt poor and working for pennies, on the dollar or whatever. So that's how that story came to be, which I thought was fascinating. But yeah, you really don't hear much about, like the Ghost of Christmas Past is actually like a real thing, or, well, it's talked about a lot back then, but not so much anymore today.
Yeah. So I thought it was kind of interesting because I was thinking about it, and I was like, oh, there used to be, I guess, Christmas used to be a lot more like Halloween back in the day. Like, it used to be a lot scarier.
We should have been around then. That sounds more fun.
Well, I think what happened. Oh, something I read was when it came to America, they already had out Halloween, so they were like, we already have this like scary holiday because I believe a lot of people, like, Day of the Dead was very popular over here, so it kind of stuck around more than like the scary version of Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
So they ended up kind of Christianizing Christmas over here. Which is interesting.
That makes sense, though. Yeah.
But when you think about it, like, back in the day at least, like, people would tell these, like, ghost stories around winter because a lot of them were cooped up and, like, trapped inside, and all they could do was really... Like,
well, they didn't have electronics.
Yeah, there was nothing to do. You would sit around and just make up stories.
And it got dark early, so, it gets dark at 5. Well, there's nothing you can do at that point.
You sit around the fire and hang out.
You said, yep. Tell stories and, yeah.
Should go back to telling stories.
That's right, yep.
Well, that's what we do.
Should.
Tell stories.
That's right.
It's about what I had. Mainly I was just talking about the interesting Yule stuff.
And how it has a lot into like pagan and Wiccan stuff, undertones in it, or how it started from there and how it got turned into the commercialized holiday that it is today.
It is very commercialized.
Commercial, yes, it is. It's strange that how many European countries have so many different characters. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, you got Krampus and all that.
Yeah, we don't really have that here.
We don't have any of that
like
here.
Saint
No. Nicholas,
but it wasn't quite that
he was
scary.
A good guy. No, he was like some nice guy that put good stuff in your shoes, candy and toys and stuff. Not, some mean guy that if you don't listen to what your mom says, he's going to come around and whip you with his, or whips and chains. I mean, geez, Pete's. Yeah, they're definitely a lot different than here in America. That's for sure.
Also, I thought it was interesting. A lot of people had seen the wild hunt thing, like, in different areas, but they still described it the same way. So it's like, what's going on over there?
It had a different name. You're right, but it's all, and that's weird. It all had a different name for it, but it was basically the same thing. Beasts were released and people were chasing
people think it might just be like how people would describe thunderstorms, because it would be like a loud roar and stuff.
Yeah,
a lot of folklore can actually be tied to kind of like,
well, a lot of it's
events.
tied into your gods and goddesses too, like Thor, the god of thunder. Like, they say that a lot of stuff references back to him.
That was related to the Yule goat. I forgot about that part.
Yes,
because Thor had he would come in a sleigh by a goat. 2 goats. He had 2 goats.
Yeah, that's right.
So it was also related to the Yule goat. I knew that we were talking about Thor. There's a lot of just like, what is that? Scandinavian?
Yes. They have tons of stuff. They have trolls. They have gnomes. They have all kinds of crazy. Why is it so like
more folkish? I guess we do have a lot here in America, but it's all because Native American
land. It's a
land,
Mod Podge, though.
Because it's
Mod Podge.
We're on top of a bunch of graves.
Ours is all. Yeah, well, ours is all Mod Podge together, too, because remember, we got bits and pieces from all these countries that all came over here.
That's why I feel like we have so much...
Yeah, ours is like a mush of everything mushed together.
Yeah. A lot of immigrants from this country, so I feel like it all kind of blended into so many different aspects of our culture.
I mean, if you honestly think about it, the only people that were here that are like really belong here were the Native Americans. I mean, everybody else is basically an immigrant.
Yeah.
But yet, here we are, chastising all these people coming in from other countries.
I know. That's what I'm saying. Like, why does it matter? We literally came over here.
we did, but here's part of the problem. We came over here. A lot of us came over ships and stuff the right way, and we came in through Ellis Island and had to be booked through. You know what I mean? Like there was like a tracking system. It wasn't just like any.
I mean, there's a
and
tracking
part of the
system
problem,
now. I feel like it was a lot worse back then. It was way easier to
Oh,
sneak
it was.
people in.
Yeah, probably.
That's how. Yeah, it was. It was way easier to be undocumented back in the day than it is. I mean, obviously, it still happens today, but.
Oh yeah. Anyway. Well, that's interesting. Thank you for that. I learned something today.
Make sure you tell some ghost stories this Christmas.
Yeah, we'll have to think up some. We'll have to look up some to tell on Christmas.
Yeah, if you guys have any weird Christmas traditions, like anything spooky you guys do.
Yeah, let us know. We'd love to hear about it. It's definitely fascinating. So, I am doing mine on a gentleman by the name of Hans von Trotha, who actually became known as the Christmas Scarecrow. Okay, this dude was a little weird and crazy.
Sounds like it.
So the story goes that this dude was a 19th century knight who lived a very sinful life, and apparently part of his life he hid in a forest and he ate children.
What?
Yeah. So wait, so I got to back up now and explain all that.
How
so
did we
it
get
makes more
here?
sense. Yeah, I know. It doesn't, there's a little more to be told. So, our friend Hans von Trotha, who goes by the name of Han Trapp when you talk about him as the Christmas Scarecrow, that's his real name. Or, well, that's the name that it transferred to, if that makes sense. So he was a local man, and this was like kind of like in France, okay? Kind of between France and Germany there, on the border, I guess you would call it. And he was this local man. He was very renowned for his greed and his unscrupulousness. And he would apparently use witchcraft and make deals with the devil so that he could become rich. And it got found out, I guess, through he was, I believe, one of the Knights Templar. So that's kind of how he got excommunicated from the Catholic Church. And when that happened, he lost all of the wealth that he had accumulated and stuff. And his social standing took a tank. Like nobody was, once they found out what he was up to, people were not happy with him. So basically what happened is at that point, he's down on his luck and, he feels like, everybody's beating him down. He decided he was going to go into the countryside and, when he did this, he would disguise himself as a scarecrow and he would like wear these really old ratty clothes and he just kind of, took on the form of this like scarecrow creature. And he was starting at this point to become obsessed with the idea of tasting human flesh. So basically he would like try and lure little children to come to his like little lair in the forest, and from there he would eat them. So one day there was a little shepherd boy that was in one of the towns, and I guess he got lost in the forest, and he came upon Han Trapp's little compound or whatever that he had. And Han Trapp ended up killing the little boy and cooking him over a fire. Well, the townspeople found out about this, and they were obviously not very happy that, this guy's hanging out in the forest and trying to eat the children. So, apparently, the story goes that some people say he got struck by lightning because God was mad at him for what he was doing by, eating these children. Others say that, it was just an accident and, he ended up dead. So whatever it is, it's said that he is now, he is said to return on Christmas each year looking for tasty children to eat. Now, some people claim that he travels around with St. Nicholas on St. Nick's Day on December the 6th. Others claim that he just hangs out the whole Christmas season, and a lot of parents tell their children not to go into the forest.
Yep.
As we were just talking about. Yep.
Funny.
Because they talk about how the Han Trapp Christmas Scarecrow will end up eating their flesh. So how's that for nightmares for you?
That's something.
Yeah, but apparently, yeah. I mean,
It's horrible.
this thing. Yeah, I know. I'm like, wow. Let's just take Christmas and make it really awful for people. I mean, God. I don't know. That's pretty dark, if you ask me. But anyway, so that's the story of the Christmas Scarecrow. But also, interestingly, when I was poking around on the internet, I don't know if you saw this when you were looking up stuff too, but there's actually a thing called the Yule spider. Have you heard about this?
I've not heard about the Yule spider.
Okay, so this is actually really cool. It's not scary, but it's still pretty cool. So the story goes that there was a poor family, okay, and they didn't have a lot of money and they couldn't purchase a tree, so they went out. And this is another like German France kind of thing. And they went out and they lived in the countryside, so they went out into the forest and they found a tree that they liked that they were going to use for Christmas. So they cut down the tree and they brought it in the house, and apparently in the tree was some spiders. So the mom got mad at all and yelled at all the spiders and, shoot them, somehow got them out of the tree, and they all went up into the attic of their house. So they were busy decorating the tree, but they didn't have a lot of money. So they didn't have a lot of, the stuff that's a lot of other people that did have money, had to decorate their tree with. So they didn't have a lot of stuff. So one night they say like I want to say it was like a week before Christmas, the spiders were curious as to what was going on, down there, what they were doing with this tree that had been their home that they got kicked out of. And the spiders came down and they heard the kids were kind of crying and stuff because they didn't feel like they had a lot of decorations on the tree. And the story goes that the spiders came down and they wound webs all around the tree.
Oh, wow.
And when Santa Claus found out about this, because he was worried that the moms wouldn't want to see these like gray webs on the tree, he turned them into silver, and that became the tinsel that we have on our Christmas trees now. Does that make sense? Yeah. So that's how we got, to have tinsel on the trees. God, I remember when we were little, we were just talking about this the other day. Grandma would buy these like boxes of tinsel, and she got like 4 or 5 boxes of this stuff, and she would just like toss it on the whole. I mean, like the whole tree was covered in this stuff, and then we had to worry about our dog eating it, because then when your dog ate it, they would poop out, tinsel, sparkly tinsel would come out in their poop.
Oh my God.
So that was like a whole thing. But yeah, I mean, people, I don't even think they make tinsel anymore. I don't see it anywhere anymore. It's basically a fire hazard, I think, today. But, because light bulbs were different back then. We had those really large light bulbs that they got hot. If you felt these light bulbs, Kara, they got hot. You could burn your fingers. Dang. And Grandma would throw these pieces of tinsel on them, okay? And it's on a live tree. Okay, do you see where I'm going with this and why, Christmas trees caught on fire? But, yeah, she loved her tinsel. But and the spider's name was Tinsel because they helped turn the spider webs into tinsel to decorate the trees with. But I thought that was a really neat story. I'd never heard that before, of how tinsel got its name. So a little cute story for you along with our scary, spooky ones to wrap up this holiday season. Yeah.
Be sure to go burn your Yule log.
Yeah. On Friday. Wait, what is the longest night? Is it solstice. Friday or is it the 21st?
It was like the 21st because it's normally like in the middle.
Yeah. It's like, I believe it's on Mrs. Brown's birthday, which I'm almost positive is the 21st. So next Saturday, because we're having a party with the neighbors next Saturday. That's the only reason why I know. So it's next Saturday is the 21st. So make sure you burn your Yule logs, and you should also, in them, write an intention for the next year so that it'll come true. So, if you feel like you need some money, write on a piece of paper, hey, I need some money.
Or if you have a bay leaf.
Maybe. Yeah, you can. Write it on a bay leaf and then throw it into the fire. Yeah. I've done that before too. So, but it's really neat. Or write good intentions, like maybe if you have you're like Kara for photography or something, you could write that, I get a lot of clients next year or something, just whatever. Yeah. Maybe you want to lose some weight, write that on there. Maybe
just
you want
be
to become
particular about your intentions.
Yeah, be very particular. Don't be vague.
Don't be vague.
The more vague you are, the
they
less
could take anything.
It won't come true. Yeah. Yep. That's true. Yeah, you got to be very intentional with your intentions.
Like, don't say you just want to lose a lot of weight. You might go into, like, it's like kind of like genie rules. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, where you have to be...
You gotta be very specific.
Be like, this is how I want to do this thing. Otherwise, your losing weight might be you get severely sick in the hospital.
Yeah. Right. Or you get some terrible virus and you're like, trapped
yeah,
in the
but then
for days
because of
you
that,
lose,
it makes you lose weight because you're trapped in a hospital. But you see what I'm saying? Intentions matter.
You got to be very, you want to be very, don't be vague with them. Make sure you're,
or just make a normal list of
point.
Goals for the year.
There's that too. Yes,
or if you want to be,
you could do that and burn it.
Silly and pagan, you can do the other thing.
Yeah. Or you could also dance around naked around it too if you really want to be silly.
Bring some mistletoe inside, some real mistletoe and some real holly. Get a real tree this year.
Yeah. God, they're so expensive this year.
Are they really?
We have our
How much
tree.
are they normally?
Oh yeah. They're normally like, I want to say like $60 for a decent tree. Yeah. I think I've heard people say they're up in the hundreds, but wow. The prices, because there's such a short supply of them, and you know what I mean. It's like hard to get your hands
just
on
the economy
them.
in general.
Oh yeah, I mean with everything, plus the cost of shipping them. Like they're mostly grown on the West Coast, so to ship them here to the East Coast, it's usually very expensive. But yeah, so. But anyway, that is our last episode for this season and this year. We are going to take a month-long break so we can relax and enjoy time with family and friends and all that good stuff and just recuperate and, get the juices flowing again for next year.
Yeah.
But we want to wish all of our friends and all of our followers and all our listeners a very, very Merry Christmas.
Yep, or whatever holiday.
A Happy New Year.
Hanukkah.
Yeah, or whatever holiday. So, yeah, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa.
That's why we say Yule, because it's just winter in general.
Yeah. So we hope you have a merry holiday, whatever it may be. And we'll see you on next year in 2025.
Yuletide cheers.
In January. We might have a short episode I might put out in between then, just to help keep people knowing we're still alive and kicking. But other than that, this is it for this year, this season. It'll be one before we start. Gosh, next year we're going to be starting season 5, Kara. 5 years. That's hard to believe.
What?
It hasn't been 5 years. That doesn't sound right.
No, it was 2021 when we started. I looked. I was looking earlier.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, so it hasn't been 5 years.
We're almost at 4 years.
It's only been 4. Yeah, it'll be 4 years. So, thank you to all our listeners. Hopefully we'll get some new ones next year. That's always the hope and the dream.
Yeah, and go more ghost hunting.
Yeah, oh yeah, definitely. More ghost hunting adventures. Yeah. Yeah, hopefully we get to go to
Hopefully
Salem.
No more shadow people in my house.
Yeah, really. Hopefully Kara doesn't bring anything home with her. Let's hope. But yeah, that's all that's all I have. Do you have anything else to add, Kara?
Nope. Just stay spooky.
Yep.
All right.
And reach out to us if you have any ideas, because we'd love to hear about them.
Or if you have any specific traditions you do for Christmas with
your
family. Definitely.
Or any cool stories you'd like to share. Hey,
stories.
We're down. Yeah, definitely.
Christmas.
Yeah, let us know.
Well, they say that winter is the time where the dead and the living are close, because a lot of death happens.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Like the veil is very low.
The end of the year. Yeah, because you're coming towards the end of the year.
Well, when death is very prevalent, like nature's going through its cycles.
Yeah,
we're on the cusp. But regardless, if you enjoyed our podcast today, follow us on Instagram and YouTube at 2 Scaredy Cats Podcast. And please be sure to leave a review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. It really helps the show get discovered. And tune in 2 weeks for a new episode. And to all our scaredy cats and kittens out there, remember, curiosity didn't kill these 2 scaredy cats.